We've gotten to a point where I would consider Kodak like damn near A-list rapper, right? We've gotten to a point where streamers like Kai Cenat, etc., are bigger than top tier rappers, right? That's where we are now. So people are way more influenced by their favorite streamers and their favorite podcasters and their favorite YouTubers than they are by traditional celebrities. Kamala gets Jennifer Lopez, Fat Joe, right? Harrison Ford, Taylor Swift, Beyonce, Eminem, Bon Jovi, Bruce Springsteen. She brings in all these celebrities from damn near 40, 50 years, right? And Trump doesn't get none of these endorsements from top tier celebs. But what does Trump do? He goes and does interviews on influential podcasts. Goes on Nelk, goes on Joe Rogan, Flagrant, etc. Right? And a couple others. And the reality, which this election proved, is that A-list celebs don't have the same pull that they used to have 20 years ago. Joe Rogan is gonna get more people to the fucking poll than Taylor Swift. Despite the fact that Joe Rogan doesn't have a tenth of her influence worldwide. He doesn't have a tenth of her influence in the United States. But the people that he influences are far more likely to go out and do something from a political standpoint. So he influences the right people from an election standpoint, is what I mean. And people that watch their favorite YouTubers or their favorite podcasters, where they're watching them for hours on end, have long, in-depth conversations, are going to have a way stronger bond to that creator than to their favorite musician. If I'm a Taylor Swift fan and I listen to a couple of her songs, right? I'm having maybe 3, 4, let's say I listen to the whole fucking album, 45 minutes of interaction with her, but I'm not really interacting with her and listening to her speak or her, I'm hearing her music, but I'm not getting to know Taylor. I listen to Eminem. Eminem Show is one of my favorite albums. Slim Shady LP. You get to know Marshall Mathers a little bit. But it's not the same. I can listen to all of his albums back to fucking back. It's not going to be the same as one Joe Rogan interview where I sit there and listen to him talk to an individual for 3 to 5 hours. It's not the same as you watching an influencer like a Kai Cenat, right? Even though I know he was fairly inert in this election, but I'm just giving you guys an example. People are watching him for hours on end, subbing to him, interacting with him, etc., in the chat, talking to him, versus a Kodak Black where you might not see him ever, or you might not interact with him ever, unless you go to a concert, and he ain't gonna talk to you. You can't interact with him in a chat. You don't see him all the time. You might like a couple of his songs, but then you see his off-camera antics like this, and you're like, what the fuck? Holy shit, this nigga's on some shit. So, I say all that to say this. Musicians, actors, actresses, they don't have the same juice that they used to have 20 to 30 years ago. The new celebrity are podcasters and influencers. That's the new celebrity now. That is the new celebrity. And I think this election fucking proved that. It really did. It really fucking did. Because even though some of these musicians and whatever have worldwide fame and a lot of people that listen to them or know who they are, a lot of people don't really know Beyonce Knowles like that. A lot of people don't know Taylor Swift like that. But a lot of people know Joe Rogan like that. Does that make sense? When you listen to someone for hours on end, you build a bond with them that's far more significant than your favorite actor where you're watching them on a fucking movie screen playing a part or singing a song. Right? And also, let's keep it 1,000. A lot of these celebs, especially A-listers, are bought and paid for. They're not real. Look at The Rock. Guys, The Rock, literally in the early 2000s, you couldn't tell me shit. running around SmackDown, had all the phrases. You look at the the 90s, mid to late 90s, all the way up until the early 2000s, bro, everybody was screaming, "Do you smell what The Rock is cooking?" Right? Once The Rock started getting movie parts, he started to compromise the guy that we fell in love with and grew up watching. He became a shell of his former self. He became too scared to talk about controversial topics. He got scared to say things that are offensive. He used to disrespect women all the fucking time in the old WWE, WWF. Let's keep it 1,000, Attitude Era. All kinds of disrespect to women. Now, never. Won't give a real opinion on nothing. Lies on his Instagram posts. Nobody gives a fuck about traditional celebrities anymore. This election really proved it. I mean, I kind of knew this, that traditional mainstream media and that traditional A-list celebrities that got their fame through Hollywood or through the music industry were kind of starting to lose influence. Mind you, be very clear about this. I'm not saying that they don't lose, that they're losing relevancy. Let me be explicitly clear about this. The traditional celebrities, your A-listers, your musicians, etc., actors, they don't lose relevancy. They're still very relevant. Okay? However, they don't have influence, is my point. Someone that watches Ada Ross all the time, right? Or someone that watches Fresh and Fair, or someone that watches a podcast or influencer, or whatever, a streamer, or whatever it is, they're going to be far more likely to take action on what that person says versus their favorite musician. Tell me it's not fucking facts. Because they're only getting a snippet of that musician, actor. They're seeing them like for finite amounts of time. And they're seeing them in an acting role, whether it's on a big screen or making music. But they don't know that individual. Versus influencers a lot of times, especially with longer form content, right? Podcasts, etc., you really get to know that fucking person, or these streamers. You really get to know that person. So, Trump going on podcasts and getting endorsements from influencers had way more weight than Kamala getting endorsements from A-list celebrities and traditional famous people. Because just like the mainstream media is dying, traditional A-list celebrities, their influence is also fucking dying. Because the mainstream media pushes mainstream celebs, actors, and musicians. But now, alternative media is here. Patrick Bet-David with Valuetainment is getting more views, guys, than like CNN and Fox. And we're just at the cusp at the beginning of this. I think in the next 5 to 10 years, you're really going to start seeing traditional mainstream media start to go out of business. It's already starting. Newspapers are pretty much fucking defunct. Who reads the New York Times? Who still has newspaper subscriptions? Who still reads magazines? Are you getting your music information from The Source or Vibe magazine? No. You're watching academics. Are you still on Netflix watching fucking series like that? Or are you watching podcasts or your favorite streamers? Do any of you even have a cable subscription anymore? Do any of you guys got Dish Network? Oh yeah, I brought it back there, didn't I? Right? Do you guys get your news from Twitter? Or from CNN, NBC? Things have changed, guys. Things have really changed a lot. Whether it's the music industry, people being able to go independent, whether it's social media allowing creators to kind of take back their audience and not have to rely on being in Hollywood or being in the music industry, right? Or being on the news, or it's alternative media outlets that make their own content and aren't dependent upon mainstream news sources, BBC, Fox, CBS, etc. You could go ahead and be a journalist without any of them. You could be a musician without being signed to Sony. You could be a podcaster without being on iHeartRadio. You don't need to be on Breakfast Club to do a podcast no more. You could be a streamer and people will sub to you and watch you on Twitch or on Rumble or on YouTube. People will sub to you. They'll donate to you instead of paying for a Netflix subscription or Hulu. So, before I end this monologue, I think the bottom line here, guys, is that this campaign proved that media, music, entertainment, creation in general, it's going back to the people. The infrastructural strongholds that gatekept all of this, whether it was the music industry, mainstream media, or traditional celebs that are actors or musicians, whatever the fuck it may be, they're all slowly dying. They still have relevancy, but that relevancy is fading, and their influence is fucking dropping off precipitously right behind it. So, anyway, if you guys agree with me, give me ones in the chat. If you guys disagree, give me twos in the chat. Want to tell me why you guys disagree? I'd like to get your guys' take on it. A little monologue there. But this is where we're at, guys. This is where we're at, and I think this election pretty much put the period on that for me.